Someone messaged me literally the day the last podcast released, and they said, "Have you ever realised how much you look like Shane Gillis?" And I went, "Does that mean you've listened to the latest episode of We're Not Wizards?" And he was like, "No." And he swears he hasn't. I don't believe him. I then showed my son the picture, and he was like, "Oh my God, Dad, it does look just like you."
I know.
Like, yeah.
He's not a comedian. He's the best comedian. Yeah. It was just so good. I just couldn't believe I was double taken. I literally had my wall of Shane Gillis. And I showed my wife as well, and she went, "Oh, do you know, like you say to people, do you know what I mean? I think you'll find he looks like the clownfish out of Finding Nemo." And it's like, and people go, "No, he doesn't." And he was like, "Well, I can kind of see it." It's like when people years ago did that. Here's that dog that looked like Harrison Ford. And if you squinted enough, you kind of saw it. But actually, it was just a slightly frowny dog. But then I did show my wife. I says, "Yeah, looks like Shane Gillis." And she went, "No, he doesn't." And then I showed a picture of the podcast artwork, and she went, "Yep."
It's undeniable.
It's
undeniable.
It's like a doppelganger. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the questions that Jerry asked. It's like, if you've got a doppelganger, have I got a doppelganger? And I don't. Somebody said a long time ago.
Do you have a doppelganger?
No. When I was younger and fresh-faced, somebody said I looked like Helena Bonham Carter. Oh, no. Do you know what somebody did say? What? It's just one of those. Same face and bone structure. They said that I looked like Sean Locke.
Yeah. There's a bit of that.
There's a bit. You know.
I think it's because you wear very similar style of glasses as Sean Locke wore.
Yeah.
So
and the hair.
That definitely
looked like a money.
Well, no, he had hair.
Oh wow. Okay, did he? I think you'll find he did. I think
he had side parting. Yeah.
Did he? Oh, for goodness sake! Now I'm just disappointed.
He had a perfectly healthy head of hair, unlike yourself. And so.
Oh, it's going to be one of those shows anyway. Right. So. Right, I've got my list. But anyway, I was going to start off. You know, we like to talk about food, yeah. And the thing is, right, for people who aren't, I don't know why you aren't, who aren't friends with Luke on Facebook, because he likes to keep his privacy, because he's a private man. He's a warm, private man. But on occasion, he'll just it's on a regular basis, he'll literally put up pictures of this food porn that he's quite literally been. You know, it's the most people put up, "Oh yeah, I made myself an egg and bacon sandwich." Luke puts up, here's my frosted gillifrey with a side order of halibroos. And you're just like going, and then it's just
roasted stuffed swan, you know.
Exactly. And here he is, mounted gazelle with eavesdropped capers.
I haven't cooked gazelle for years.
You've got to. I just like my gazelle almost raw. What I say is just take off the horns and wipe the bum and stick it on the table, and I'm ready to tuck in.
Oh, you wipe their bum. That just takes away all the flavour and aroma.
That's the best part. Anyway, so
absolutely. I am a cliche of a Facebook man. I am so middle-aged. All I do is post potentially a rant about something.
Yeah.
Not too many, but there's the odd one or two.
Yeah.
Pictures of food I've cooked.
Yeah.
Pictures of my kids.
Yeah.
Pictures of my dog.
Yeah.
And weightlifting. I am such a frigging cliche
of
a Facebook. I know. And I'm kind of, once I realised that, I was just like, go with it.
Just go
Who
with
cares?
it.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with being a cliche.
No,
I'll take it.
No, it's fine.
I could be many
really
things. Good. A cliche is not the worst of them.
So anyway, dinner, pushed the boat out a bit. Right, listen to this. Made myself a chicken Kiev.
Made yourself a chicken Kiev?
Well,
or
took it out the freezer.
Got a frozen chicken Kiev.
It's a gluten-free, dairy-free kind of chicken Kiev. So the crumbs,
flavour-free chicken Kiev.
No, it was really nice. It's got a thing. I discovered this tip that you could put it on a slice of bread when you put it in the oven. So if the chicken Kiev decides to leak, you end up with kind of like
like
toasted,
a garlic bread,
like a garlic bread kind of thing, right? But
that's actually a very good idea.
So actually,
what you should do would be cook some potatoes beneath it. So they get a little garlicky butter on them as they cook.
Right, okay. I don't need you being pretentious and just like making me look stupid. But anyway, what I did, game changer, right? It's like they'll be doing this up and down restaurants. I decided to do something different. I decided to switch out the slice of gluten-free bread, which I usually cut round to make it kind of the circular kind of oval egg shape, and I replaced it with a crumpet. Oh my days!
Garlic
crumpet.
Garlic crumpet Kiev.
Garlic crumpet.
So
Kiev.
is the crumpet in the oven as long as the Kiev's in the oven?
Yes.
Or so does the crumpet not end up very well cooked on the edges?
No, actually it doesn't for some reason. It just, I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's because the chicken Kiev obviously starts off in a frozen state.
True, it keeps it cooler.
And it keeps it cooler.
Thermodynamics.
As you know,
that,
cold air in the oven is kind of circulates around the bottom as opposed to the top. But it just really, it kind of dry. It makes it really crunchy, and you also have this delicious kind of garlic flavour. So that's
yeah, that's a garlic butter crumpet. Sounds like a Pornhub category, but buttery crumpet.
Oh, just. Cooking at home with my buttery crumpet. Anyway, welcome to We're Not Wizards.
Mary Berry.
Oh, no,
buttery crumpets.
Yeah.
That's the next book, Mary. You can have it. You can have that for free.
Keep
Mary
it.
Berry's Buttery Crumpets.
Oh, my name's Richard.
My name's Luke. Buttery Crumpet Pryor.
There he is. That's going to be the name of the show now. And everybody's going to go, what are we talking about? I've been going on
It was a perfectly normal one at first.
It was, and we were talking quite nicely, and then we just took it to a different place that we shouldn't have been going in the first place. Isn't that right? Yeah, only supposed to bow the bloody doors off. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't, because I'm only going to say this because apparently Threads has taken off and is the place to be, and we have gained a huge number of followers on Threads of late. We went from pretty much 10 to about over almost 600 now, kind of in a space of about kind of like 4 days, which is absolutely kind of ridiculous.
Threads is the Facebook, sort of Instagram.
It's
no, Instagram is Facebook, isn't it?
It's the meta kind of version of X, basically. I think everybody kind of went, let's go and join another billionaire who's building an emergency bunker someplace in kind of Canada or Hawaii last time I checked. But everybody's over in Threads, so I thought we'd just say hello to everybody who's maybe joining us for the first time. As a quick thing, if you're listening along tonight and you like what you listen to, then please, if you're listening on Spotify, you little shy guy, then drop us a rating or review on your podcast catcher of choice, be that Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube, or tell other people about it. Make sure you tell other people, because spreading the word about things that we enjoy is a good thing, which is... I know you were out venturing back to a con.
I did.
But
Airecon
Northwest. Now I'm going to dive into that in a second. I just want to mention very quickly that we went back to the other place yesterday, which is the Board Game Cafe based in Kirkcaldy, and saw everybody there. And had a lovely time again. Played Splendor and lost to my son, who is far too intelligent for his own good. So if you're in the Kirkcaldy, Fife, Dunfermline area, then I suggest go to the other place, get yourself some lovely food, get yourself some board game fun, because they've got a little library that they're building up over a period of time, and one of the ways they're going to build it up is if they get more customers. So we're not sponsored by them. I just said, mentioned them.
Just show them the love. Yeah. How far is it from you? How is it easy for you to get to?
It's like 20 minutes.
Oh, proper easy.
Yeah, it's proper kind of jump in the car and just go along, park in the car park and walk along the kind of the slight misery which is Kirkcaldy High Street as it kind of gets. It's kind of in a strange place at the moment because it's quite literally on the cusp of stepping back in time as you get all these large multinational companies kind of shutting up shop left, right and centre, and it's getting taken over by the smaller businesses are coming back in to kind of reclaim the high street, which in some ways is kind of like a cool quite a cool little thing. So we went to there. We also went to Fire and Lighting Collectibles. And you were saying...
we're in Ely now. We've just, well, I say just, it's been probably a couple of months now, I think. Had a new miniatures game shop open up called Miniatures Kingdom. And it's a really great little shop. It's got a couple of places, a couple of tables you can go and play miniatures games, and he's got awesome stock levels. So at the moment, because Games Workshop are utterly useless at trying to let anybody sell their stuff, he doesn't even have Games Workshop stuff at the moment, but he's got like TT Combat, he's got full Warlord stuff.
Wow.
If you want to play Silver Bayonet, Frostgrave, Stargrave, Bushido, the Gale Force 9's new Tank Battle 1 and Flames of War, all of the Warlord like Napoleonic and Ancients, all their new epic range, like small scale stuff. It's absolutely awesome. He's got Army Painters full range. He's just about to get Tooth in coats, all barcoded up and ready to sell. He's got all the TT Combat's range of paints.
Wow.
He's got loads of Geek Scenics, basing stuff. He's even got Subutio section, really cool little Subutio section.
That's weird.
It's an awesome shop, and he's a really lovely guy that's in it and doing a great job. Oh, Dead Man's Hand is in there. Miniatures Kingdom, which it is, if you're in Ely, if you're on the Tesco's and you go to the industrial estate just on Angel Drove, it's sort of tucked away in that bit. It's in one of these kind of what would be like a little office unit. But I bet he gets a much, much better deal than an actual retail unit. But yeah, I hope he does really well. He's a really nice guy. Always have a really nice chat. Popped in to see it today and did the classic thing of I didn't go in there wanting anything, so I bought a pot of paint.
I think, yes, I do the same.
Which I definitely didn't need, but I've wanted to try it. This is Proacryl. If you listen to YouTubers and content creators for painting, they say that the Proacryl Bold Titanium White is the white to use. So I bought myself a pot of that just because I wanted to do my bit. But I bought a few bits from him, and he's going to have Mantic in soon, hopefully, as well. So, yeah, awesome shop. Miniature Kingdoms, open every day except Tuesday and Wednesday. And, yeah, lovely people. So, yeah, support, because he's doing God's work. If God was a small plastic man, 32mm tool. Yeah.
I'd be worried I'd step on them, to be honest, if it was that. But then, could you step on God if he was a 32mm miniature? That's a question for another. That is a question for another time.
He's everywhere, so you'd inevitably step on him, regardless of whether you wanted to.
Oh my goodness! I hope he's not watching just now.
He is.
Yes, yeah,
he is.
There you go.
Or she is, or they are, or whatever.
They are, them is,
yeah.
Everybody. I don't know. How was Airecon again? Because it
was
feels
great.
like we
It was
should
great.
just
It was really
do we
nice.
just record it? just replay what we recorded last time, and then just play
it was really
again.
good. I was only up there for one night. It's a shame I had to go to Manchester for it, but that's where it was. So that's what it is. Manchester is an utter dive of a place, I'm afraid. Well, certainly that bit of it was. I mean, it's a shame because I have a lot of love for Manchester, being a Manchester United fan. Although that stretches my ability to love every day. But yeah, Airecon Northwest was great, and it on the Friday, I was a bit sort of like, a few of us were a bit like, I don't know if this is hitting the numbers that they're probably going to need. But on Saturday, it was a good solid amount of people. So, and Mark said he was happy on the Friday, so that sounds like it's all good. The event space is really nice, a nice big airy room. Tables could do with being a little bit further apart. You could just see whenever anybody wanted to get past a couple of chairs, even if people weren't sort of sat back, they were still in the way, kind of thing. So it was a bit of a squeeze. Maybe take a row or two out. Played some great games, some fun people. So it was really good, really, really good. Hang out with the Dice Tower a lot, went for a drink Friday night, and that was nice. And put the world to rights and so forth.
So did you hang about with the good Dice Tower people then?
Yeah, Camilla and Z mainly. I got to have a bit of a hangout with Mike, but not as much. He turns in a little earlier, bless him.
He is getting to that age, to be honest.
Exactly. He's not a young man. And that coupled with jet lag and so forth, he does the sensible thing and treats himself right when he's at a convention. And he's obviously not long been at Gen Con. He's got the Dice Tower retreat next week.
Wow, yeah. Wow.
So he got it all lined up at the moment, so I didn't blame him at all. But I got to hang out with him a bit during the day and a couple of times and play their new game as well, which was nice. Or actually, I sat in on a new game and let somebody else play because I've played it a whole bunch of times. I love Gary has done beautiful work on the appearance of it all, as I would fully expect because the man's a bloody legend. And yeah, played loads of games. It was really good, really good.
Is this the I Made You a Mixtape game? Which is, I think it's hitting.
This is I Made You a Mixtape game.
Price.
Yeah, which should be coming to Kickstarter in, I think, November at some point. I think is the current plan.
That means guys, we had Dan obviously on not that long ago. I'm just wondering if we should pivot and maybe get Mr. Delicious on.
It's a very good idea. Any reason you could to avoid Dan is, a good reason.
That's true. But it's not nice. But I mean, no, it'd be nice because we have been in his company and we have spoken to him, and I think it's been far too long since I spoke to Mike. So it'd be interesting to hear where Mike's coming from the kind of the music point of view, because he's always been the kind of the music aficionado. From my take.
It's definitely a joint collaboration. I mean, they're both the designers. It's not. I'm not sure who had the initial conception. Yeah, they're very much mutual designers. But admittedly, as much as I jibe Dan and like to give a little dig as whenever I can, he did lead me to one of my highlights of the convention, which was playing games with his son Evan, who is an absolute young legend of a man. Got his head screwed on. Absolutely right. Luckily, he's got a lot more of his mother's genetics by the seams of it. He was a joy to play some games with. So, yeah, I played Marvel Remix with him. He taught me Meadow.
Oh, right.
What else did I play with
him?
I played some other games with him as well. But, yeah, really top lad. Absolutely top lad. He's going to the retreat. So, anybody who gets a chance to play with Evan at the retreat, absolutely do so. He's a really good lad. Yeah, really good lad. Enjoyed spending time and get to know him a little bit.
I've been hearing it.
Sense of humour.
I've kind of heard his journey over the kind of like the last year and a bit, because Dan kind of mentions them off and on in terms of what they've been playing and what they've been doing, and he seems to have hit that. It's almost like he's kind of, his taste in games has matured the same that some people's kind of taste in kind of alcohol kind of matures. That he's kind of like started off getting into. He likes a nice kind of getting into his Euros and stuff like that, which he kind of...
Yeah, he knows. I guess he knows what he likes.
Dan was playing,
definitely.
That's good. That's good. You had a good time. I was wondering what it was going to be like, and I was just wondering if Airecon Northwest was maybe more appealing to me, because I'm trying to figure out between kind of travelling to Harrogate or travelling to Manchester. I think they're all kind of eeksy-peeksy in terms of how quickly you can kind of get down to them.
And
obviously Airecon...
Yeah.
I know it doesn't make. I don't think it makes any kind of difference at all, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, it's just going to...
Well, if anything, Harrogate's probably easier because it's a lot nicer to drive into the middle of Harrogate than it is to drive into the middle of Manchester. I caught the train in the end because the parking and everything was going to be so expensive, and I thought, well, by the time I've driven 4 odd hours or more to get to Manchester and then paid like 50 quid's worth of parking, I might as well just catch the train and chill out. And so I did that, which was...
I think you end up in that horrible situation where you're kind of like, I kind of wish I'd taken public transport. If you get to somewhere and you're like, well, that's done, but now I've got to fork out kind of like basically half my food money is going to be going on kind of like parking in the same place for a car, which is just like crap. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, but no, I played a lot of good games. One of my highlight games that I played that I've wanted to play for a long time is Mr. Knizia, the Doctor. Is a game called Nightmare Productions, which at a glance doesn't look like a Knizia game, I suppose. I'm not sure what a Knizia game looks like, but it's all about you're a movie studio and you're making horror movies, and it goes over 3 or 4 years worth of kind of rounds, and it's a bidding game, and you have a track in the middle, and on that track there's all these little piles, and they could include like the big bad monster, the director, the soundtrack, the like murder weapon. You can get some like ancillary things that you can add on as like a bonus to your movie, and you've got these little tiles in front of you that show each of the things you've got to fulfill. So you might have a movie that's got 2 locations and a monster and a director. Then you might have one that's got like a director, a soundtrack, 2 monsters, or whatever, so they're not all just the same. And then each tile has from none to 4 stars on them. And you get to a tile. So you go down this track. First one is always a 4-star monster, so like a really good monster. Then so you can see all these certain ones, and then there's a few you can't see. It's just a blind pile, and whoever's got the most stars in monsters gets first pick of that pile. So it's good to have decent bad guys and monsters in your movies within your studio. So, but when you get to a normal pile, you can see that coming up, and whoever's first player does opening bid, and it's a closed economy, which is a cool thing. So there's only ever a certain amount of money in the game. That's how much will be within the world you're within. And say I win a bid of 12 million to get a stack of stuff, and I put that stuff wherever I want. I put my 12 million into the pot. Then the pot at the end of one of these bids always gets divided equally amongst the other players. So if I win with 12 million, I'm giving each of them 4 million. If it's ever an odd number, it stays. The odd bit stays in the pot to go into the next thing. So you, like you say, that somebody has kind of run out of money, sort of thing. So if you can keep up with that, but it's a truly cracking, fabulous game. I absolutely loved it. It was way better than I expected it was going to be. So I'll definitely try and pick myself up a copy of that at some point, I think. Because I like bidding games.
Do you play a lot of Knizia games then?
No, I wouldn't say I play a lot of them. Like some of his bigger ones, like Tigers with Euphrates, I played it once and I absolutely hated it. It's not to say it's not clearly a great game, but it's just not my kind of game. It's too mathy and stuff like that. But then, like, I played Blue Lagoon. I loved Blue Lagoon. I thought that was absolutely fabulous. I played that, I think, at one of my first Airecons. Thought that was a really nice game. High Society's Knizia, isn't it?
I think yes, it is.
One of my favourite games of all time. I think when he does auctions and bidding, I'm in. I'm very much in. I like what he does with auctions and bidding. I've probably played more of his games than I'm realising, but I know I haven't played nearly as many games as he's made, because he's made so goddamn many, and when I joined the kind of the industry and the hobby and everything, it was very much in the period of time where people were like, oh, Knizia is a hack and he just reskins his old games and blah blah blah, he hasn't done anything new for years, and he was very talked down upon for a long time. And I think now it's very much the resurgence of Knizia that people are truly realising what genius his games are. They're truly fabulous games. Certainly many of them are. There's plenty I know that are just very dry mathematical games. Oh, I like Llama. I'm a really big fan of Llama. I think Llama's a great game. Yeah. Silly, simple game, but it's game as Uno.
It's like that advert you used to get on the telly, and it's like, more Crowded House songs than you think you do, kind of thing. Yeah. And I think it's that kind of thing, is that people kind of, there's definitely no kind of, if somebody gave you a kind of a whole list of Knizia games, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've played that one. Yeah, that was really good. Oh, I've played that one as well. And actually, I've played that one too. So I think he's like one of these kind of guys that is kind of like, I think you're right. I think he went through a situation where people were like, I'm not really that fussed on him, because there's almost so much Knizia out there that people were just like, well, it's just another Knizia. Which I think you sometimes just need to sit back and take it focus a bit.
Ra's Knizia game, truly amazing game. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I could probably go through the list of his and just be like, oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Modern Art's one of his I've always wanted to play. Lost Cities I've never played. Through the Desert's a really nice game. Yes, I mean, Zoo Vardis is one I really want to play. I didn't know that Mlem Space Agency one was his. That recently came out, the Cats in Space one.
That's the one where I was like, Mlem, do 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 do.
Yeah.
Mlem, do 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 do. Mlem, do 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 do. Yeah. So they I don't know why it's just like that. It's like, hey, and here's a musical interlude, because one of the things they do love is a musical interlude in the middle of a board game podcast, as we know. Yeah, wonderful.
Just to give you an idea as to how many games he has made,
right?
I just clicked on him on Board Game Geek, and there is, it doesn't take long. You scroll down past all of his awards, and then it gets to a very long list of games, basically. Like 1 or 2 games for every year from 1992 onwards, roughly, to today. And that is the abridged list of Ryan Knizia games. And it's abridged down to like 40 or 50 titles. You know, that's that ridiculous. Tells you kind of how many games that man has made, you know.
I wonder if his room is just like absolutely full of like kind of post-it notes and kind of like notebooks and stuff like that, and that's kind of what he's got. He's just walks into his bathroom and he's got kind of games.
I remember seeing something on YouTube years ago, and I think he's got almost like a what's the old way that libraries used to do stuff like an indexing kind of card system. I think he's got like a wall of like drawers that contain like stuff. I'm sure I remember seeing that. It looked like a board game designer come alchemist, that kind of thing. It's just this litany of drawers that probably like contained all sorts of weird little nuggets of games and mechanisms and stuff like that. You know. Yeah, interesting guy. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he is an interesting guy. But.
Well, I don't know. Is he an interesting guy? If you wear a bow tie, are you trying to be extra interesting than you kind of really are? Yeah,
there's a good chance. Yes.
There's also if his brain is consistently kind of dealing with maths and, you know, percentages and all that kind of nonsense, then is he kind of like one person you could sit down and have a decent conversation with, or would he kind of like go, actually, can I just show you this game instead, because that's kind of like his comfort place?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, you know, one thing we don't find too often in this industry is high levels of charisma, so he might be one that has one, but I would imagine with the amount of games he's designed and the sort of person he's obviously got some eccentricities to him. I would be surprised if charisma and, you know, that is really one of his fortes. He can't be that good at everything, you know, kind of thing. So yeah,
I think hence the bow tie. Pretty much. I mean, that's what I'm thinking is happening.
Do you like Knizia games as a general rule?
I think I'm in with you in terms of things like High Society. I think High Society was High Society not one of the games that we kind of played together with Airecon 2019?
Yeah, it might have done.
I think I believe. I know
it's one of those quick games, isn't it? You don't generally remember often a lot of the times you play it. You know, it's No. I remember losing absolutely brilliantly.
I think I kind of went, I'm going to go for third, and I went, oh no, actually I ended up fourth because I was absolutely kind of tragic. I am saving up all the games that I'm going to be playing because Tabletop Scotland is going to be coming along in the matter of about 2 weeks. In fact, in 2 weeks today, I shall probably be venturing back from Tabletop Scotland on the Sunday, and I am very, very much kind of looking forward to it. It's the 6th to the 8th of September, and I cannot wait because I think it's going to be a huge place.
Your conversation
it's a huge
with
space.
The Tabletop Scotland people.
Yes, Dave's a good friend of mine. Well, I'm not going to say
David
good friend.
Gemma. That was Gemma.
Gemma
they were
crossed the line. Yeah, it was good fun. So I'm looking forward
popping
to
her podcast cherry.
Yeah, just yeah. Why are you swinging that? Don't do that. But games, I mean, okay, so let me jump into something that I've been playing. And before we get to the next, probably the biggie, I guess. I was back on my Flesh and Blood jam. And I was playing Flesh and Blood, but I was and I'm using kind of like the smaller decks, not the Blitz decks, but I've got an original, I guess you could call it kind of like a commander deck. So you have to kind of like take out all the cards. But I'm just, every single time I'm playing this game, I'm just literally falling more and more in like with this game. I'm just loving the nature of the combos that you can pull off. I'm loving the fact that you don't start off with finite energy, that every turn you're pitching cards in order to get energy so you can do your moves. I'm loving the kind of, it's got a go again mechanic, which basically, I mentioned this, but you just, if you play a card that has an action and then it says and then go again, you then get to hit the person again and get them kind of trying to defend it. And it's just becoming one of my favourites. And the last time I played it, I was using I blinged it up a bit because I got some tokens from Buy the Same Token, which are basically these beautiful looking kind of acrylic kind of printed tokens. I think there's something nice about when you're playing a game, just sticking down, like just having that kind of extra bling. You've got like the life counter, which is this huge thing about that size, and it's all kind of like it's all kind of like acrylic. It's acrylic. It's a printed on or engraved, and it just adds that little kind of extra. It just adds that little kind of extra bit of personalisation, and the quality of the stuff is really, really good.
I've wanted to do that to Marvel Champions for ages, because I really love Marvel Champions, and I've always wanted to get a lot of the blinged bits and sort of dashboards and bits where you can acrylic stands for where your bad guy is, kind of thing, and the stuff that's kind of ongoing. I mean, it's nice. I like that. It's so bloody expensive, some of it. I like play mats, in that sense.
Oh yeah.
Especially for card games that have like very specific, like this goes here kind of thing. I find it. I like that sort of thematic organisation.
I think it's kind of cool. See, if you're down to playing like say 2 or 3 different games, like if you're playing like at the moment, like I've been playing a little bit more Star Wars Unlimited. I played One Piece as well. I finally got that to the table. That's very Pokemon in terms of how it works. So if you've played Pokemon at all, you're going to set this up and start playing it and go, oh, this kind of plays like Pokemon. But I can see the attraction of kind of like having one game that you play and getting the kind of spending the money on kind of like the playmat and spending money on the tokens and giving yourself kind of like its own little bit of identity. Because I think the one thing about these card games is that you can all kind of end up with the kind of same looking kind of cards, and I think there's a little bit of kind of like that customization with kind of like the different kind of sleeves and stuff like that, and the different kind of game art and the different type of tokens. But these tokens are just, I've been pretty impressed with them. They're pretty cool, yeah. So I think if you get looking at them, I think they do have Star Wars Unlimited, because I think the official Star Wars Unlimited ones are really, really difficult to get hold of. I think they do have things like Marvel Champions and stuff like that. They do, yeah.
I've got loads of Marvel Champions, Arkham Horror, the card game as well. I've got Magic cards from decades of playing Magic. I've still got loads of Netrunner. Wow. I've got a whole load of the Star Wars Fantasy Flight card game. That was okay. It was all right. It was nothing special. We've got a lot of Lorcana. Haven't got any Star Wars Unlimited. Haven't got any Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood definitely intrigued me. I got a few of the decks as well for Warhammer Champions when that came out. That was a good game. That was nice. I like the way that played.
I think it's unfortunate for Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood seems to be... It's a really, really good... It's a really, really solid game. And it's also... You seem to have kind of like pre-constructed decks. So you can go in with like your pre-constructed Blitz decks and just... You can still have a really, really... You can still have a really, really good game. You don't need to be going out and kind of spending lots and lots of money on different decks to kind of get it... To kind of make it work for you. And I'm surprised the number of people that kind of like go, oh, Flesh and Blood looks really, really good. I'm really interested in it. But then haven't picked it up. And I'm kind of like, I'm fully there. I'm just like, yep, I'm going to get probably some more Blitz decks from it. I'm kind of looking forward to kind of buying, you don't have to kind of keep buying more and more cards. And that's one of the things I found out with Star Wars Unlimited. I played kind of Star Wars Unlimited a week ago. And I found that the person I was playing against was Paul, and he had got the latest version of... He'd got this latest versions of the decks, the new decks that were out that have got like the Mandalorian and Grogu and stuff like that on it. And he was absolutely dominating me. The last kind of games that we played...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was playing as Krennic. or I played as Chewbacca, and I've also got IG-88. And the last time we kind of played, he was playing with a Leia deck or an Emperor deck or a Vader deck, and it was kind of like toe to toe, and you felt like you were kind of like exchanging blows, kind of back and forward. In this new kind of set of decks, I kind of both times, or a couple of times at least, I was sitting there going, you might as well just call it, because there's no way I'm going to be able to. There was absolutely nothing I could do to go up against the kind of offensive that they had. And I felt it was down to the fact that I didn't have... It wasn't the strategy it was playing, as I felt it was just down to the kind of cards that I had. I didn't have the newer cards that had the kind of the newer mechanics on them.
That's very quick to make previous cards not good enough. That's happened extremely fast then, because this is only the second set, isn't it?
Well, I mean, maybe it was down to me, but maybe I'm like one of these guys. I'm not one. It's probably down to me. I'm not one of these people that goes through a deck and kind of like works out combinations and stuff like that. You work out the colours, you see if it works, and you swap kind of cards in and out. But I honestly kind of, after the kind of the initial rush of playing it the last time, and I was like, oh yeah, this is really good and it's really fun, and there seems to be a good exchange of blows. There was at one point that Paul I was playing with basically had managed to field 3 ground units and 2 space units, and he had just fielded another space unit, and I had 1 ground unit, which meant that on this turn I would have been able to potentially fight and take down one of his units, one of his other ground units. I wouldn't have been able to do anything about the space. And every time I tried to get somebody out there, they just got kind of like knocked back and knocked down. So it wasn't the kind of like, it was never kind of like the best. So yeah, that's why I'm kind of going back to Flesh and Blood, because Flesh and Blood definitely feels like, regardless of who you're kind of playing against, you've kind of got... They're designed to be completely asymmetrical decks. I mean, when I was playing it, I was playing my Katsu deck, who's like a ninja guy who's got a combination of blows, up against one of the new Mistveil decks, which is out, or it's been out for a couple of months now. And they're more kind of magic infused and kind of things like that. But it felt like there was still kind of like a trade in the blows. It didn't feel like any time like nobody was going to kind of run away with it, which I kind of appreciate. I like this.
What's the aim of the game in Flesh and Blood? Is it to destroy?
You just got you got like a hero, and basically what you're doing is you're kind of when you're playing as a hero, but you're fielding, instead of fielding characters to fight like kind of, Pokemon or One Piece or Star Wars Unlimited, you're basically fielding blows. You're fielding your attacks. And then you'll attack your opposite, and they've got a chance to defend. And then you can then have an attack reaction, which is basically, okay, well, you're defending me, right? I'm going to attack with this instead. And they get a chance to defend against that with their defense reaction. And then you can chain and combo and link kind of blows against each other, fights, and then what happens is that you kind of lose your life points kind of based on that. But what's more interesting is the cards in your hand have got little kind of values between 1 to 3. So they have a cost, but they also have a pitch value. So a card that costs nothing to play actually also has maybe a pitch value of 3. So if you, rather than you can play that, you can make the choice to play it and use it as an action, or you could pitch it and you could get 3 units of energy. And you can pitch cards at any time in order to kind of give you energy. It's not like you're just pitching for that round like Pokemon, or again like Star Wars Unlimited, or even, various other places. You don't get a finite. If you're able to pitch cards, you obviously end up with no cards in your hand for the defense, for when you're defending kind of like on the next go. But it's just got this delicious kind of back and forward where you're either sacrificing cards to defend against the blows, or saving up the cards to kind of hit them back kind of later on. And the blitz decks, to get yourself started, it's like, the blitz decks are like about 12 quid. It's 12 quid to sit down with somebody and just have a bit of fun. And the only thing I'm a bit against is the original starter decks that I have got this lovely little booklet with all the rules in them. Whereas the newer Blitz decks, they rely on you having the rules kind of...
right.
The rules are online. So you've got that kind of... which isn't great. But, yeah, no, I'm just enjoying that.
Not uncommon, though, for card games to start doing that eventually when they've been out long enough.
Yeah.
They know they've got their fan base. They kind of settle into it. Yeah,
I get it, and I don't necessarily like it, Mr. Pryor.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah,
but One Piece, as I say, One Piece is very, very Pokemon. I can see why it's liked. It's very, very easy to get around. It's very, very easy to play. It's but Flesh and Blood is, for me, is kind of where I'm laying my hat at the moment. It's kind of right up there with Ashes Reborn. I'm liking it kind of that much, and I like Ashes Reborn a lot.
Am I with One Piece? Am I missing something? Because One Piece is one of those ones I've thought, I wouldn't mind picking up some One Piece because Elliot's absolutely in love with it. He thinks the movie is hilarious, and do they even do starter decks? Because all I've ever seen is booster packs for it, and even when I had a quick sort of search for it, all I found was people selling boosters. I could never seem to find starter decks for it, and I thought that can't be right.
The starter decks, something? Well, they sell out pretty quickly.
That's why. I did wonder if that was part of it as well.
I think there's a lot of people that go out their way to kind of like pick up as many kind of starter decks as possible, because it's one of those things you have to kind of be right in there. They've got a new one out just now. I think they're up to starter 114 or something like that. So the new one's just out. It'll be pretty easy to kind of pick up, but you'll need 2 decks to kind of get yourself going. But yeah, I mean it's fine. I wouldn't say you're missing out on the next most innovative game. But I think it's kind of like, and I don't want to be patronising, but it seems like Pokemon for grown-ups.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's something that you would sit in the local game store and you'd play, and everybody would be like, cool, One Piece, because I recognise it, as opposed to, I would play more Pokemon if I was playing with my son. I wouldn't necessarily sit and play Pokemon with, like, somebody of our age, because folk would go, oh, right, what are you? Kind of 12 kind of thing? Sounds a bit snobby, but that's kind of the way it is, just is. Whether or not that brings me bad karma is a different thing altogether. And speaking of bad karmas, you played Bad Karmas.
Oh, Bad Karmas, yeah. Yeah, this is one me and Elliot have started playing through a campaign of. In fact, we need to do... need to get back to it. So Bad Karmas is from Explored, who created the Teburu system. Many of you might have heard of the Taburu system quite a while ago. It came out and it was going to be, it's essentially this electronic interface, interactive sort of interface for board gaming, in that you put out this board and it has this like kind of power banky kind of edge to it, and then you put a board on top of that, and then the models and stuff, I presume, have one of these like RFID chips or whatever it is in the base, and like it knows what you're doing on the board. It knows if you've moved somebody and stuff like that. And then so we play it via laptop, so that we've got a laptop at the end and it's showing everything that's happening. And Bad Karmas is the first set that's come out for this system. They ran a campaign on GameFound for Vampire the Masquerade Milan Uprising, which looks frigging cool. And I love the Vampire Masquerade world. So Bad Karmas is you're this band of kind of ne'er-do-wells and heroes, and there's, I think, in the whole set of it, there's like 14, 16 characters to choose from. And then so all of the characters are kind of like, you got your tanks, your healers, your assassin-y kind of rogue-y kind of character, your kind of defensive, your kind of very offensive and stuff like that. So distance characters as well, ranged ones. So you and the Bad Karmas are going around the globe taking out the signs of the zodiac, so that it's a boss battling game, and you go through this little sort of story bit on the app, and you go off and fight the signs of the zodiac. The first one we fought was Taurus. Was it Taurus? First one, yeah, I think it was Taurus. Yeah, and you have a nice, really cool big mini for the zodiac also, and you put it on this base, and the base has these it kind of, do you remember the old Simon Says game with the coloured lights, and you had to do the colours? Yeah, kind of looks a little bit like a little mini version of one of them, and it's little four little quadrant sections on the outside, which are coloured LEDs, like behind clouded perspex, and they reference like the status of that side, that quadrant of the beast. So like its rear might be exposed, or it might be armoured or something, and the LED colour will tell you that. And on the app it'll do the boss's move and stuff like that, and you've got to kind of figure out when you're playing it what the boss reacts to. Like if you get close to the boss, it might always push you back and react to you in that way, or if you go to this certain section of the board, like a cave, it might react to you in some way of that, like it's protecting its cave kind of thing. The whole system works really well. A little bit buggy. We're on to the third one at the moment. One of the things you do, because it is a campaign game, you unlock, so like you do like achievements, so kind of like it's gamifying the game in that sense, a bit like kind of Xbox or whatever. If you might have an achievement of attack an exposed side 3 times, or and stuff like that, and then what you'll do is at the end of a round, at the end of a session against the boss, once you've won, you'll unlock new abilities for those characters. So so it's all saved within the app and everything. So if you select that character, it'll be like, oh yeah, you've now got this card that you can use, and this card that you use, different moves you've got and actions and stuff. Different actions take different moves, different amount of action points and stuff like that, and they've got cooldowns on them. And you might find an artifact or something that you can give to a character that gives them a buff or something like that. But just, I mean, the first, it just plays you through it. You never read a rule book, never looked at anything other than how to set it up. The hardest thing was making it work on Windows. I think it works a lot better if we haven't got any new iPads in our house anymore, so I didn't trust any of the iPads we had, so I had to use Windows, and it's a little bit clunky with the whole Windows interface, but it works. We've had a couple of crashes and stuff like that, but nothing too terrible.
I thought it was kind of like, I've heard nothing about it. There was a lot of, I think it kind of, I first heard about it. It potentially might have been pre-pandemic.
It was funded before the pandemic, I think. Yeah, the first one. Yeah.
And then it just kind of like, it absolutely kind of like just disappeared. Never heard anything about it.
It did quite well. I mean, like Milan Uprising, on the basis that Bad Karmas has only just fulfilled a month ago. And that was obviously the first thing. And this is obviously all very kind of, it's crowdfunding and tech, which is always a bit, sketchy at the best of times. Lots of people say, I'll never crowdfund anything in tech because by the time you get it, it's 2 years out of date. And it was, there's no kind. It's not like, this is just a simple thing. I mean, this is a very clever, very intricate, very well engineered, or certainly ambitiously engineered system. So the fact that Milan Uprising funded very well. I think they nearly got to 1 million. They might, in fact, probably in the pledge manager, they absolutely would have got well past 1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that it funded that before there was ever, I know they've been at every convention, and you always see people demoing it and everything like that. But most people wouldn't have had a chance to actually get their hands on it and really see how it works. It's all, for the most part, for most people, proof of concept. So it's done very well, I would say, in on that front, and could have. I mean, that second campaign could have been an absolute car crash, and just said, well, no, look, until we see people with this in their hands and we know that it works, and that your app support's good, and blah blah blah, it's all well designed, and software engineers all solid. It could have just been really poor, but it's obviously been successful enough. But yes, I haven't seen anybody other than me talking about it, and enough people funded for it, so plenty of people definitely got it. I don't know if it's delivered yet in the US. I think Europe and the UK have got it a little earlier, so it might be that's half the reason. But really good, really good. And it's got like a dice, so like the electronic dice, it knows what you've rolled on the dice. So it's very, very cool, and certainly my son loves that aspect of it, the whole interaction. It does some silly things. Luckily, it's something I knew about beforehand because I watched a video on it. But like, say you're going to move two. So the way the board always works is you've got basically big circles, and each circle's got small circles on the outside. Your people will be on the small circles, and the big circle is for the bad karma. Not the bad karma, the Zodiac monster, and it will face northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast. Diagonally. And you could see on the app which way it wants you to face, and you've got little interactive bits of terrain pieces and stuff like that. So one of the things, like, say I wanted to move my character 2, if I went on it and went 1, 2 and dotted them across the spaces that they were moving, it would instantly just move me 1 to the first one I pressed on, rather than going, he's moved on to the next one. It would just go, this is the move you're doing, and then just boom. And luckily they built an undo into the app, so that's good. But also luckily I was aware of this, and I said to Elliot, I was like, don't do out your move. If you're going 2 or you're going 3, go boom and boom. That's it. You don't don't play it out. So that's a little frustration that a lot of people would probably come across. But luckily, with so many of these app integrated games, they don't have an undo, which it just blows my mind. I get that sometimes you could probably game it, but the fact that you could break yourself, without having an undo would be infinitely more infuriating than some loser who's cheating at their own game they're playing. But yeah, great, really good fun, and me and Elliot really enjoying it. So it's nice to be playing a campaign game with him as well. That's good fun.
Can you play other games though? I mean, are you restricted to because you've got the bad karmas kind of setup? Is that
so
you
at the
kind of
moment? That's the only game that I've got for the Taburu
Right.
system, and there's only Milan Uprising that's coming for it. After that, there is going to be another Game Found campaign in however long, I forget when the launch date is, but it's for more bad karmas. So it's bad karmas versus Cthulhu, because obviously it's got to be Cthulhu. But that looks very cool, you know. So I think it's an expansion and a chance to reprint bad karmas, you know.
I'm just wondering how, because that was the thing. That was the thing for me. I think the way to get successful in something like this is if you're relying on people kind of buying play sets in order to play it, then it can become pretty expensive. I don't know if you remember kind of Lego Dimensions.
I remember. I remember it. I never had a go with it, but it looked cool. But now it doesn't exist, from what I'm aware of. You know?
It kind of, I mean, we've got it, and we've still got it, and we've got all of these lovely kind of RFID kind of Lego, effectively kind of Lego toys that kind of get set up by the base and stuff like that. But it's redundant and it's gone. You know, it's like basically the company decided they weren't going to be supporting it anymore. So I think it's literally very, very difficult to. It's very, very difficult to go back in and play. It's kind of like pretty much kind of useless. But the other thing is, as well, is it used up so much space on the PlayStation 4 at the time that it made it almost impossible. Yeah, because as they expanded more, as they added more and more play sets, and they added more and more expansions to the game, they seem to have this thing where rather than you would download kind of packs, but you would also download kind of unlock keys. So if you got a big playset pack, like if you got like the Harry Potter one or whatever, then what it would do is you would download an entire kind of download to play that. But if you were just playing as like the A-Team van or the Knight Rider van, that content was already in the game. You just kind of like downloaded the kind of the game pack for it. But the problem with that is that it meant that the game itself was then became huge because it had all the content for all the levels.
But it's just whether you had access to it.
Yes,
or not.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. So it made it kind of,
That's a very stupid way of doing it. But I imagine that's their easy way of doing it for them. And it's a case of, well, fuck you if you don't get, if you know, this is the way it is, like it or lump it, you know.
Exactly. But no, I mean, you're right. I've not seen people championing it, Teburu, and I guess I don't know if it's maybe down to if you wanted to send it out. If you were wanting to send it out to get people to market it, it's going to be a lot of money, expensive to send it out. And secondly, if you're sending out a system, I think you need to send them out with a couple of different games. I don't think you could send out with one system because it's essentially like sending out, do you want to try the new PlayStation 6? Yes, I do. Well, here's the game that you have with it. And that's the only thing that you can play during the entirety of you trying to show off how good this stuff is. And I think that's
it comes with this. It comes with this prototyping set. And I thought the prototyping set was so you could create your own stuff if you had some sort of level of, kind of app building within it or whatever and stuff like that. But I think it's so that you can play prototypes of upcoming games. So it's got like a set of bases that are like standee bases. So you obviously print something off to put them in the little standee base, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly because I know that I know I've seen some people were angry about the prototyping thing because I think people thought it was like they could make their own stuff and share it out like a community and go, like, oh look, here's my Batman game I've made for Taburu, or something along those lines. And but I don't think that's what it is. I saw people were sort of flustered about like not being able to share their prototype stuff. But I need to look into more as to, you know, what it is the prototyping kit is truly for, kind of thing. You know, but you know, enjoying what I got. It's a good solid start. Milan Uprising looks cool. I've kind of tried to not know too much about it. Kind of just go, well, yeah, when it arrives, we'll get into it. You know, and just enjoy. You know, kind of like avoiding trailers when you've got a good movie coming out. You know, just let it surprise me. So fingers crossed. But I think it's probably some... Well, actually, I don't think Milan Uprising is too far away, actually. Because I think they got to the point where...
Oh, that'd be good.
I think, you know, being a new thing, they hit a whole load of stumbling blocks and unexpected delays, because it's obviously such a big, grand project that they're undertaking. I think, you know, there was some significant delays, but lessons were very much learned, and therefore those delays are... You know, they won't carry on to the next set, sort of thing, and probably even sped the other set up a bit. So, you know, valuable lessons were learnt, sort of thing. But yeah, no, very cool so far.
Lessons were learnt is always always the best one. That's always the best one. I'm gonna jump. We're gonna light speed jump, actually.
Go on.
Into the far reaches of space, where a set of several humanoid characters have their own factions.
No.
And thought you were going to do that. I thought you were going to.
I couldn't stop myself.
I thought you were going to go right in Uranus. I was on Friday. On Friday I played Arcs.
Oh, yeah, I want to talk about this. Right, shut up about Uranus.
Ask me question. Well, there's two ways they can do this, right? We can either go through...
First question.
We can either go through the entire how to play it, which I think is going to be boring, because if you want to...
No, I know how it plays. Right. I've watched how it plays.
Right.
And if you want to, you can go watch something. There's plenty of good videos out there about how it plays. There's live playthroughs on the Dice Tower.
Yeah, we don't,
like
you know. Yeah.
Right, so...
Okay. Start your questions, I'll give you answers.
Are you a fan of Root?
Yes and no.
Okay, in what sense? Elaborate on that a little bit.
I think that as a game, the asymmetrical factions are interesting, fun, and good to play. I think they're interesting to play. I think it is definitely, and there's going to be a theme with this when I talk about the other games in the leader. You say leader, I say leader. Category. That it is literally the FIFA 24 of board games, because it's literally been designed to be the one game that you buy for the year and then you play constantly. It is not a one hit go in and play, because it is a bugger to teach. It's a bugger to learn. It doesn't sit well. It's not good at 2 players. It's almost too busy at 5 players. You need a good 3 or 4 players. You need the same 3 or 4 players probably playing Root over the same kind of 5 or 6 games in order to completely appreciate it.
Best game of Root will be 4 people who've played it 4 times.
Yes. That'll be the pinnacle of that game. And this is the thing that everybody goes, oh, Root. And it's why I continue, and you will always get people who... I see it all the time, it's really funny. You'll always get people who will be selling Root plus everything that comes as part of Root. And then you get people that will be going... And you'll see these sales posts, and guaranteed you'll get about 5 people who instantly say, yes, I'll be taking that. No, I'm second in line, I'm third in line, I'm fourth in line if it falls through. Because the idea of owning Root is a thing of beauty indeed. The thing of playing Root is a completely different bloody ballpark, because I understand people who would play the different factions, but again, like you say, you need to have played it 4 or 5 times to completely appreciate and understand what everybody's doing. So that is where I am with Root. I think it has its place.
I love Root, but I agree with everything you've said.
Okay.
Root is... I wish I didn't have all these other games. And I wish I was at that point in my life where I just went, I've got 7 games.
Yes.
And Root is one of them.
Yes.
that would be a lovely situation to be in, but I know I'm never going to be there, so hey ho.
It's very much like Oath as well. I played Oath four or five times, and we went through a kind of a campaign. Again, it's one of these games that requires commitment. It requires everybody to know what they're doing. At the end of the day, it's one of these games that I've played Oath 4 or 5 times. I don't have a copy of Oath because I don't feel I need to play Oath ever again. I think I've seen most of what Oath needs to offer, and also it's a game that you need to have same 4 people, same 4 factions, played 4 times, and at the end of the day it becomes a bit kingmakery. I love the production, I love the premise, I love how it plays, I love the back and forth, I think the battles are extraordinary, I think it's an awful lot of fun. If I knew I was going to play it once in the next 6 months, it's not a game I'd rather play something else, to be perfectly honest, because it needs to be every 2 weeks or once a month you're gathering with the same people to play.
No, very fair. Very fair. So, and I think I know the answer to this question because I have watched enough stuff, but it is not Root in Space.
It is definitely not Root in Space.
But if you know Root, like Root, and a lot of the stuff Root does, there's a very good chance you will enjoy Arcs.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that Arcs is the game that people wanted Root and Oath to be. As in,
I take it you've not played Ahoy then?
I've not played Ahoy, no.
Yeah, okay. Ahoy is a very, very, very stripped down. It's not as good as it could have been. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, but in the way that Arcs plays is Arcs is literally there's no asymmetry. There's no there was 4 of us that there was 3 of us that played on Friday and 1 observer who was just kind of going through the rules as we played just to make sure we were doing everything fine. None of us had played the game before. We had all kind of watched kind of little bits of Meeple University's video. I think it's Stella and Tarrant.
Tarrant, yeah.
Yeah. They do a lovely kind of teaching video for Arcs if you do want to get up on it. But I must say, probably by about turn...
Was it one of those learn as we play ones?
Yeah, but we kind of had it. Yeah, pretty much. They kind of go through it, but they sometimes have like a playing one as well. I think they split it down either to say this is how you play it, and then sometimes they also do kind of like a play as you learn kind of thing. But this one was quite strictly a this is how you play the kind of the different things. Just to be absolutely clear, we didn't play with the leaders and lore faction extras,
right?
And it's quite funny because it says very, very clearly in the rules, do not, this is your first game of Arcs, do not play with the leaders and the lores because it makes things kind of complicated. And I think leaders and lores brings in that kind of level of asymmetry. So,
right, okay. Yeah.
What I was,
makes you a little bit different to each other, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I get what it does. It gives you a leader who probably has some sort of special ability, and it gives you a background to your race, your lore for your race, which also probably gives you some sort of difference. Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't play with that in the first game. This is kind of like a base game. I think it's designed to get people who were maybe I don't want to learn kind of different things. It would almost like be playing Root, except everybody's like the cats or whatever, so everybody kind of gets a good idea, but there's kind of like slight differences. It's not a trick taking game,
but it has an element of trick taking in it, correct?
There's no, you don't. This is the thing. This is what I don't understand. It's like I don't know why it's being called a trick taking game. It's an auction game. It's kind of like an auction game. You're putting in a bid for your action for what you want to do. You're not playing a trick because you don't you kind of, you only kind of win the trick, but it's only to decide if you're going to go next. It doesn't, winning the trick doesn't necessarily give you an advantage in that particular round. What you're doing is you're laying a card, and then if somebody lays the same card as you, basically what they're doing is they get to, it decides the number of actions that you're basically doing. So if they lay a card that's higher than you, every card's got a number of pips in it. It basically tells you the number of actions. Or you can do is you can copy that card that's been played, and you get one of the actions. Now the cards themselves are split down into kind of different actions that you have. Again, this will all be explained in the copious amounts of it. But at no point do I pick up, if I've played the highest card, do I pick up the cards that I've played and put them in my pile? What I do is the cards get cleared away at every single. So it's basically it's almost like an auction. You're bidding what cards you're playing, and that's deciding where you appear or where you're appearing in the kind of the pecking order and what kind of action you're kind of able to take. And different cards have different actions. From there, you're deciding the kind of the actions that you're taking, and it's a very kind of light sprinkling of kind of 4x, which is fun.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because it's not like it's in space, but you don't actually have like a kind of galaxy map in front of you, do you? You have this kind of weird central thing for the board. It quite surprised me when I first saw it. Yeah, it's a bit like, oh, that's not what I expected. I kind of assumed there was going to be some level of map.
No, but it's not like Star Wars Rebellion. It's not like Star Wars Rebellion where you've got different systems kind of dotted open. You're looking like a pizza. You've got a well-cut pizza that's got different flavours of slices, and each of those flavours of slices has a couple of spaces to build a spaceport or a city. It's got a planet on there, and it's got the resource that the planet provides. It's very simple.
So it is a sort of abstracted map, in a sense.
Yes. But it's not what you would expect from a normal kind of, it's almost a case of, it is an abstracted map. You can imagine that the planets aren't to scale or anything like that. It's almost like you've kind of zoomed in, and it's almost like a collage of all the kind of the planets that are represented by this huge kind of space pizza map, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, and you kind of and you have your little kind of your pieces, and it's not. It's very, very swingy.
In a good way.
In the fact, okay, so I'll give you an example, okay?
Or in a frustrating
in the game. In a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. In that it's frustrating because you get 6 cards in a round, and if you don't get the cards that you need in order to take the actions that you need, you're relying on other people making sure that they're playing the first card in order to allow you to kind of copy that action. So I'll give you an example. At the end, towards the end of the game, I needed to build more ships. I didn't have, in the last 2 kind of rounds, I did not, for whatever reason, I managed not to draw any build cards. So I was unable to go ahead and build. I had also managed to block my ability to build in what they call the prelude, which is basically the space between you once you've played your card and once you've decided what actions you can take. You can spend another resource to allow you, but you've got a way of, if you go ahead and attack a planet, then sometimes you lose an ability to do a certain prelude, and it's kind of, it's an interesting way of doing things. But I didn't have a way of building ships, and nobody was playing a lead card that allowed me to build a ship. So I was in the situation where I had a whole pile of... I had like 4 ships in total across the entire galaxy, and we're on like round 4 or 5, and it was highly frustrating. Round 4 it was. And the thing with war is that when you do battles in this, but your ships, if you lose them, they don't end up back at you, they end up on the player that defeated you's trophy map. And they sit there. and they sit there
that's annoying.
until somebody decides to play the Warlord ambition. Because when somebody decides to play, they've got different ambitions. So it's like, could be who's got the most fuel, or who's got the most prisoners of war, or who's got the most empathy, or who's got the most trade and stuff like that. But during the game, nobody decided to go for the Warlord ambition. So at one point, me and Leo are sitting opposite each other, and he's got 15 ships on his trophy section, and I've got 12 in my trophy section. Yeah, basically, out of the 12 ships that I had, I would say probably 9 of them were his, and out of the 15 ships that he had, the majority of the ships that were his. So nobody had played this Warlord ambition. At the end of the Warlord ambition, if somebody claims the Warlord ambition, then what happens is all the ships that were taken as trophies kind of go back to the people that owned them. So I'm sitting there, not able to build ships, not able to defend it, basically kind of stuck in that
staring
thing.
At a fleet that you
staring
can't
at the fleet across the other side of the bloody table, not able to do anything about it. And I can sit there and go, well, it was crap, and I hated it. I was still second place. I was still second place in the lead. It managed to not affect me in how I was able to do other things in order to kind of score points. But it did kind of put me in that position where I couldn't explore, I couldn't kind of take the main actions that I kind of needed to do. But then I've seen some people...
So something happened in the game that meant you had to pivot from what you maybe wanted to do, but you were able to do that. You were able to pivot because of the game. You have certain things that you have kind of always kind of have certain things that you kind of have to do. I mean, it's not... at no point, it's very light. There's nothing heavy. You kind of, there's not, it becomes almost like a joke. There's not kind of, it's not like Twilight Imperium series of serious here. There are cards that kind of tell a story and they give a backlog, and everything is beautifully illustrated. It absolutely looks lovely and stunning on the table. I mean, this is going to be a thing where people are going to walk past and they're going to see it and they're going to say, yeah, that's lovely. I want to play that. I can see why some people are kind of looking at it. It's not heavy enough politically that and what I mean by that is there's not kind of big schemes and alliances and stuff like that. It's almost a case of, well, you blew up my ship. You blew up my battleship. And, and then it's like, I'm going to get you. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of refreshing. I was expecting, and I guess this was back to what I was saying about kind of like Root and Oath. I was expecting to kind of get like 3/4 through this game and kind of go, I'm going to have to play this another 3 times to even see what it can kind of deliver. And I can see why certain people are going, I can see people kind of going, I can see why people are like, this is amazing. This is the best game that Leather's done. This is the way forward. This is why everybody's kind of wanting it. I can also see why other people who are maybe fans of like 4X games kind of going, yeah, it's all right, but I mean, it's not it's not what I'm, Yeah. Do you know what I mean? This is like Vimto, I've got a Jack Daniels in the cupboard, and you're offering me bloody Vimto on the table. I mean, what's going on with this? I'm intrigued to kind of play it. I'm intrigued to play it again with kind of like, now that I understand what's happening, I'm intrigued to play it again with maybe the leaders and lords. I think it's also, this is kind of like the pizza base with the tomato sauce and the cheese, and they've put a little bit of, cheeky herbs on the top of it, and maybe a little bit of a couple of mushrooms on it just to give you the taste. And it's a cracking good pizza. It's a cracking good space pizza.
But there's a whole pile of fill-ins, I think, that people are going to explore, that want to explore. And I don't know if those additional pieces are going to then push it in the way of Root or Oath, where people are kind of like, oh, this is now back to everybody needs to learn everybody's faction and what they do. So
right.
So,
well, it's definitely one I'm very eager to play, you know, because I am a big fan of Root. I like Fort. I always wanted to try Oath. Ahoy was okay. It was fine. Just wasn't as good as I hoped it might be. So as a general rule, I like what leader games do. The production value is also obviously beautiful. So yeah, I look forward to. I think from everything I've watched, it will be a hit for my game group. It definitely looks like it's one for us. You know,
I think if you can
really
get
like
commitment,
we don't get to play as much as we like. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it needs that commitment. I think it's going to need that commitment. I think it might become one of these games where people just go, it's like first Friday of the month, this will be our kind of our arcs. And we'll just kind of like, you know, go ahead and kind of do it. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, as I say, overall, and joking aside, because Jerry had kind of asked this question, but it's going to be interesting to see how the arc kind of plays out on arcs, and all the love at the beginning. Because I'm seeing people obviously selling it, and I don't know if they're selling it because they went, shut up and sit down, love it, therefore I can make some tasty money out of this. I'm going to sell my coffee because I know I'm not going to get it played. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out kind of long term. There's certainly kind of there's certainly scope to kind of expand it, I reckon, and add in kind of potential more cards and stuff like that to make it tasty. And I think it's the type of game where you could literally add in, you've kind of got court cards which do different things, and I think there's a way to expand the game like that and expand it with the leaders. You could potentially look at expanding the kind of the board, because the way the board works is you actually shut off some of the board when you play, so you're not playing on all of the planets, you're only playing on some of the planets based on the kind of the setup card that you have.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see where the kind of the overall kind of character arc from arcs kind of goes. And that leads us into our question from Jerry Baker, which is, what's the best character arc in your opinion?
Best character arc?
Yeah. Jerry's looking for a person. Jerry's looking for a person, so who would you say has got a good redemption arc?
Darth Vader. One of the greatest redemptions.
Oh, come on. Yeah,
ever
okay,
written.
That's fine. That's fine.
I wasn't even thinking of Darth Vader at the time, but that certainly what sprung to mind.
That's certainly.
I suppose Deadpool's kind of a redemption arc, isn't he? In a sense, it's that. I suppose it's that anti-hero thing. I like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Go on then. So what's your best character arc? If was it like a general one, like I said, but then maybe a specific as well.
I like the one where you see them hit the potential of what they could actually be, whether that be kind of bad or good.
Ooh.
You know, the one where they kind of walk away from, or you get the close of the last scene where you go, they have absolutely fulfilled all of their potential all the way through to kind of the end. They have kind of nailed this completely, and I don't need to see anything more from this character because I am happy with what's happened, regardless if it's good or bad, you know. And it has to be Jimmy McGill, it has to be Saul Goodman, you know, because at the very end,
I'm right thinking that's Better Call Saul.
Who he was originally.
Is that Better Call Saul?
Saul, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've never watched a Better Call Saul. I've always kind of meant to. I'll tell you, here's another great redemption arc story. Okay. It's a beloved movie of mine from one of my favourite actors who I think is massively underrated. The character is played by a guy called Paul Giamatti, and it's in a movie called Sideways. It's all about, he's a wine snob, guy, and he's a loser, and his wife's left him, and he's just down on everything, and he's just, he's just, an absolute waste of space. He's no good to himself or anybody around him, and he just goes on this beautiful redemption arc of coming back and finding himself and stuff like that. Great movie if you've not seen it.
I've never seen it, but it was like Sundance Festival and Oscar and all that kind of thing at the time.
It was.
Everybody kind of loved it. Everybody kind of loved it. Scott Chrisley asks, where do you see the board gaming industry in 5 years? Will the current trend of overpriced, overproduced games continue, or will the bubble burst and return to smaller games and focus on gameplay and mechanics?
No. So the way I see the board game industry going is continuing really kind of where it is. I think we hit the high peak, and I think because of various things that are happening in the world and have happened in the world, I don't think I need to mention anybody. Everybody knows what's going on and what is going on. I think there'll be certainly a amount of leveling out. I think that the board game industry will continue doing well and being strong, and I think you'll see. I think you're already starting to see it, a more condensed release schedule, as in like more companies doing 1 or 2 games a year, which I think is kind of where we're already sort of at. Even the bigger companies, they have, they don't flood, with stuff. But like, for instance, the kind of the point to make about like big massive productions, it's I think the trouble is people very very much look at the board game umbrella and they just go, oh yeah, Six Nimmt or High Society is worthy in the same discussion as Seventh Citadel or Gloomhaven. One of these. Well, no, they're not. They wouldn't in any other sense. It's no different to comparing a kid pushing a scooter down the road than a Tesla. Just because they've got wheels and they're a mode of transport does not mean they're in the same discussion. And I think this is one of these things that kind of like everybody seems to think that they are one and the same. They're not. They're just all adjacent to each other, and they're all kind of under a similar umbrella, but that doesn't mean they bear comparison. So I think you'll continue to see big production games, because there is a market for big production games, and there are people who love and absolutely live and breathe these games, and they want to dive into it. And then there's people who are absolutely want nothing to do with it, and they just want to play cool little trick-taking card games or little abstract strategy games and blah blah blah. And then there's all the stuff in between, kind of thing. But I almost don't even put them as being like different ends of the same spectrum. It's they're just not the same thing. They're just under a very similar umbrella, and there's lots of crossover of like the Venn diagram of gamer. Will often like those sort of things. But no, I think the industry will carry on doing very strong. I think you'll see some companies fall by the wayside just because they've probably been holding on for a few years in the sort of hopes that they'll come out the back end of it, and sadly a few won't, which we kind of already have seen. A few drop off, sadly, over the last sort of year or two. and I think you'll see new ones come in. You know, new companies will come in with a great little game, catch lightning in a bottle, and go on to produce another little like category, a catalogue of games that will be generally successful. Or certainly get attention that, like, sometimes a company, because they'd had a cracking first game, had they released their third game as their first game, they probably wouldn't get the attention it might have had, because they got the buzz, and they, like I said, they caught lightning in a bottle, and they got a bit of love at the right time. So I think you'll still get new companies coming in, but I think you'll get. I think there'll be a slower release schedule. I think crowdfunding will probably become a little bit more specific. Certainly, while we're in the situation we're in, I think crowdfunding will kind of be a bit more about the big blingy projects, the unretailable projects. As so many of those ones are. They just can't. They can't exist in a retail environment. They're not designed to, and retail doesn't work in that way. And you'll see less of the kind of mid, the classic Ticket to Ride box, because taxes and shipping is too much a similar percentage of the price of the actual game that you're buying in the first place, and so you'll get kind of less of those. There's less reward for value, as it were, versus, like, if you're going to spend $300 on this big all singing, all dancing production, well then what's 60 in shipping, kind of thing, whereas if you're going to spend 40 or 50 on this really nice kind of mid-weight Euro, well, suddenly $25-$30 in shipping is a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, kind of thing, So I think that section of the market will probably dip for a bit. It's certainly in a crowdfunding sense, but it will. If solid companies can continue to do that well in a retail sense, then they'll carry on fine. And I think the innovation that crowdfunding was designed for will be seen more in the small package games that don't have exorbitant shipping prices attached to them. You can just have $5, $6, $7, $8, because the mindset, it goes to the other end. Although you might say, oh yeah, here's this $15 game, it will cost us $8 or $9 to ship it to you. But backers will often look at that and just go, oh well, it's only $20 in total, or $25 in total. It's not such an issue. So I think you'll see the flourishing and innovation in that end of the sort of board game world. You still get the big blingy productions, and I think it'll just all carry on well. Thoughts?
I got very little to add to that, to be perfectly honest. I think you kind of covered it. The only thing that I think will happen in the next 5 years is we'll continue to see the erosion of actual critical content of games. I think as the number of games can while it stays steady, I think businesses are interested in noise as opposed to critique. And I think we'll still see. I think there are some names out there that people want to get their game in front of. I mean, let's face it, Shut Up and Sit Down are still going to, whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not, whether I think Tom's taking the place. I think Tom's trying to take where they are in a different direction with regards to the videos. I think his videos are going to become more essays, so it's going to be people who are looking for that. I think proper kind of introspective criticism of the board games in general, I think, will become very, very specialised. I think that and this can be seen in who's getting kind of review copies and stuff like that. You know, I'm more likely to see a game put in the hands of like a TikToker or an Instagram reeler or somebody on Instagram than I am likely for it to be put into the hands of Dan Thoreau or Charlie Thiel or something like that. I think it's kind of represented in things like the size of the latest tabletop gaming magazine, which seems to be smaller in size. I think that, you know, there will be people who will write critical pieces on games, but I think that they will only get kind of review copies of certain games if they have the kind of either the visibility or the numbers to kind of back it up. I don't think we'll see new voices, new critical voices coming into the industry. I think the people that are coming into the industry just now to provide reviews are going to be more on the kind of the marketing side of the fence than actually risking criticising the products that they're covering. I think we'll see less of that. And we're starting to see kind of, like I saw a post today which was basically we're interested in kind of collecting details of people who are who have created content in the board game space, but you must have 10,000 followers. And there was no question of like whether or not the quality of what you were doing. It was just like you have to have the kind of the numbers, which to me is like, well,
yeah,
fucking so what? So what? But I guess, as I say, it's a commercial product. It's a commercial product, so that's what I see. I think crowdfunding will continue. I think we'll see more things like GameFound where we have direct scores. I'm going to be quite nasty and say I hope Kickstarter dies death. But before I start to sound old and twisted and even more bitter, what are you planning on getting to the table next, Mr. Pryor?
What about? Oh well, to be fair, I want to do some more painting with Elliot. We've done some painting and minis lately, so that's been really good fun. Did some more today. Taught him a little bit of dry brushing and some sort of edge highlighting, and he's doing really good. Really being really careful. You know, I've seen kids who like, oh yeah, I really want to paint miniatures, and then you kind of like I've been at like conventions where you do like the painted takes and stuff like that, and you can see this kid like oh yeah, I really want to do this, and then you watch them and you think, well, you're not really trying to be remotely careful. It's something that I would say obviously needs to have some care, taken with it, But Elliot really takes some care, and I think it's just about trying to, like, today was a lot of that, getting that mindset with him. Like, he'd started off doing some contrast painting and stuff on some minis. He'd done a great job, and he does some really good things. And then, like I showed him, like I said, dry brushing and a little bit of washes as well, and then a little bit of edge highlighting. And then I said, right, and he said, oh, what do you think? And I said, well, what do you think you would add to it? What, like when I look at this section and it's all just grey, silvery armour. What about like doing the scabbard there purple? Maybe doing that little bit of that bit gold, a couple of bits there to break it up, just trying to get that mindset into it. And as soon as he'd done a few bits of it, he was like, oh yeah, I get this, Dad, I get this. Yeah, that looks so much better,
Yeah.
So more of that. Really, really enjoying getting into that with him. I really want to start playing some Dead Zone with him from Mantic as well. I think he'll really like Dead Zone.
Nice system.
Which is just such a fabulous miniatures game. Yeah.
Well,
more
I'm going to be
Karmas with him as well. Yeah, go on.
He's such a lucky boy. He's such a lucky boy to be having that.
He's a little legend.
He's a little legend. I'm going to be splitting my time.
I think you're going to show something that I've got all of, and I just have not had a remote chance.
I'm going to split my time between this.
Yeah. Oh, that one. No, that's not what I thought it was.
And this.
Oh.
So I'm going to be splitting some time.
I have all of Monsters Underworld, and I haven't played it. It's not what I thought. I thought it was a Witcher, the old world at first when I saw it.
No. I have Monster Hunter World, which I'm very slowly beginning to get to grasp in the rules, and it's literally like video game the simulator.
Video game, the board game.
And I've also exactly, and then I've also got Tuscany from Stonemaier Games, which I've already kind of dipped into. And it's quite...
You're a fan of viticulture, I take it, yeah?
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
I think I remember you saying you love it, yeah. So you've never played any of the Tuscany modules. So you never played you've never played with like the Grande Worker.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Or the seat.
The Grande. The Grande Worker's in the new one.
Have you got
Essential Edition? Yeah.
Right. Okay. What an absolute bloody mess viticulture is now. Because the amount of people who are like, I've got this bit. Do I need this bit? Where is this bit? You know, it's just like when you hear people, God forbid anybody goes back and watches anything for viticulture to like get a copy of viticulture. Oh, this is great. I'm going to go watch and play. And then they look at it and they're like, well, that's not what my fucking board looks like. What the fuck is this shit? You know, it's just such a bloody mess. And it's such a shame because it's such a frigging great game. No,
I love it. I love it. Just put it in my veins. Just put it in my veins. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And that's potentially wine. Unless as long as it's gluten free. As long as it's gluten free. Right. And on that note, Mr. Pryor, it is time to say goodbye.
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 Remember, if you click to the end, remember you can click back through all the little bits because we always put little anchor points on all of the topics of conversation. And if you have liked what you've listened to, then please tell somebody else, drop us a rating or a review. And if we've mentioned your game, mention us somewhere else because that's always lovely. Always lovely indeed and makes us smile indeed. But there's only one more thing to do, and it's to say goodbye. So remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. So remember, stay safe, roll sixes, make something awful, and
stay spicy.
It's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.